What's up? Hey, how's it going, everyone out there? So, what's up, man? I'm Jeremy, and just wanted to go live here tonight, talk about some UFO stuff. And there's another Jeremy out there in the audience, dude. So I'm not the only one. We have 0 people watching. It's like 2 a.m. So we'll see who jumps on here. Cool thing, I found this just blowing around in a parking lot today. I bought a new hat, a new t-shirt, and just blowing around in the parking lot I actually found four of these $100 bills just blowing around. Unfortunately, it's a fake, and I thought it was kind of weird that it has like this Russian writing on it, and I was like, I went and looked it up. So it ends up being, play money. But I was like, my first thought was like, oh my God, we're going to war with Russia, and like there's Russian spies that are printing out, fake US currency to, as a strategy to dilute, the currency and, go to war with us and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I should call the fucking police. And oh my God, the Secret Service are going to want to be knocking at my door and, asking me questions about this fucking, these fake Russian $100 bills that have been blowing around. But I don't know. I figured I'm just going to go live and talk about it, and we'll see if the Secret Service comes and wants to talk to me about it too. Also got some cool movies, dude. Independence Day, 2001, Space Odyssey. These were $1 a piece, dude. Short Circuit. Come on now, Johnny Five. And of course, gosh. Yeah, so cool, some cool movies. What's going on in the UFO world? What's up, Dave? Late stream anime cancel. No worries, guys. Good to have 23 people watching me at 2 a.m. Good to know. Maybe some of our overseas audience in here that are up at this ungodly hour. So we got 20 people here, man. All right, let's get some activation in the chat, because I want to make sure you're all real people and not bots. So I'm gonna roll this dice, because it's a 20-sided icosahedra dice. So throw a number out and guess the number between 1 and 20. The closest one to the number I roll is the winner. Ready? Throw a number out, guys. Come on. Let's go. Prove you're a real person. Type your number in the chat. All right, we got a bunch of bots watching. Nobody's guessing the number between 1 and 20. All right. It was 13. Oh, there we go. Someone guessed 13. General Backshitstein. You were the winner. What did you win? Well, you won a free shout out on my channel. So, anyways, let's go to we'll do another roll later, man. That was fun. I like to do that little audience engagement. This was posted the other day, 9 hours ago, actually. This was posted. So, man, I've been trying to get an interview with Lou Elizondo. I've written to him. We had that guy on who's mentioned in the end of this. I'll talk about that later. And lots of interesting, conflicts and things going on and dramas in UFOlogy. But these guys are kind of new to the scene, man. And we've had I believe we had Mike and Lou on the show before. Got to get Rather on at some point. I've been talking to him. I just, I'm busy, man. It's like, and I do this spontaneously because this ain't a full-time thing for me. It's a part-time gig. I've been super into it for 20 years now, but I just don't have the time anymore with all the stuff I got going on in my regular life to really engage in UFOlogy the way that some of these people do. But that would be cool, man. I would love to make a living off this and get hundreds of thousands of viewers and go on all these shows and be able to make a living off this. But unfortunately, when you talk about the real stuff, you get shadow banned. But anyways, I want to.
Okay, so the name of the game is called "Stick with It, Let's Move On," or
this
BS.
is good. This is pretty good.
All right, so that's how you have to answer the topic that comes up. Stick with it, let's move on, or BS. So let's start with a big one. You ready? Roswell.
Stick with it.
Cattle mutilations.
Let's move on.
Alien abduction.
The earpiece fell out, man.
By the way, let me count.
This is funny.
For now.
I like how whoever like clipped up these videos, man. I got to get like an editor to go and make some shorts with me, because this is good stuff, man. Cattle mutilations. He's like, let's move on. Anyone who wants to know about cattle mutilations, first off, I've been in this a while. I think Mirage Men did a really great job. If you look up Mirage Men, this documentary right here, Mirage Men from 2013, go watch that video. That's a perfect introduction to UFOlogy. Because we talk about UFOlogy. I'm going to get into this and I'm going to define what I think UFOlogy is for everyone out there. Coming from me, and I actually have a bachelor's degree in physics, and I've been really into this subject for a long time. I don't need to dress in a suit and tie to impress people, and people know me, and people know my work.
Alien abductions.
Let's move on.
Alien abductions, man. Let's move on. Oh God, it's like, it's like, this is me. My answer would have been like, all right, cattle mutilations. I would have been like, go watch Mirage Men, Project Plowshare, UFO cover up. Basically, the military, was covering up this Project Plowshare, where they were underground nuke tests, and they were testing the cattle and their thyroid glands, because your thyroid glands contain isotopes of iodine, actually. And when there's a nuclear release, your thyroid, a lot of people get thyroid cancer. It's something that they found, medically in the literature. It's all over. If anyone knows anything about, nuclear radiation and fallout and the types of medical and health effects it can have, the military was taking the cattle and cutting out their thyroid glands to test for iodine. And then people started being like, well, what's going on with these cattle? Why are these, my cattle disappearing? And then, they started this whole rumor that it was aliens doing it, and that they started cutting out all the other organs and dropping them from helicopters and doing all this other weird stuff and spreading disinformation, including, infiltrating a guy named Paul Benowitz through a U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations officer named Richard Doty, who targeted this man, Paul Benowitz, and, basically got him to spread all this disinformation to the UFO community. They've been doing it for years. The UFOs have been used as a cover-up for military, secret operations and a lot of the nuclear stuff that was going on back in the day. What better cover-up than UFOs? So, well, he says, let's move on. There's a couple points that need to be made there. And then this whole thing with alien abductions. Look into the work of John E. Mack. He was a Harvard psychiatrist or psychologist, and he did a lot of interviews with, people who claimed to have been abducted by aliens, and had a lot of interesting findings. He was very skeptical, but he had a lot of interesting things to say about the psychology of the people who reported these sort of weird things happening to them. And of course, the ones that get the most attention, I believe, are the fakes. The people that make up the stories, because they're so extravagant and so like silly that it just gets, tons of attention, like this Angeli drama that's kind of unraveling and falling apart lately. And also about 6 months ago with the Travis Walton story, which, some revelations about that fire tower and the spotlight and all the, all the other stuff came out, and really drew some skepticism about the validity and the truth about that story. So someone guessed in 13. Yeah, you're a little late, man. People just tuning in. Yeah, Lou is an interesting guy, man. I would love to talk to him. I'm skeptical, and I'm open-minded, and I'm not going to, take sides on all this stuff, because I know, I know, yeah, this convincing alien photo. Anyways, let's focus on Lou and get through this 3 minutes.
Yes.
Wait, what? Bases. Okay. Underground military bases. Alien bases.
Yes.
Wait, what? Did you say yes?
BS.
BS.
Oh, BS.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
all right,
okay.
All right, yeah. Because I saw Rather's face too. Okay. Yeah, okay. BS.
No,
Total
BS.
BS. Underground alien bases. All right. Grassroots UAP efforts like the
That was weird, because it sounded like he said yes at first, and like everyone was like, "Oh my god, really?
Big Phone Home.
Stick with it, baby.
Yeah. All right. UAP false flag.
Oh, Big Phone Home. By the way, guys, the Big Phone Home is what really put these guys on the map. They did, they're making this a political call to, and basically inform senators, congressmen, and other people who are not aware or informed of UFOs to, basically get educated about the subject and start to really learn what's going on. And I have some videos that I put together towards that end. I think I'm going to put together some other ones that are more concentrated, more direct and to the point. There's just so much information. It's really hard to, decide what to cover and what's important. I try to focus on the actionable intelligence only, and really avoid all the, the fluff, like, the cattle mutilations and the abductions and all that stuff. It's like, really, it's going to be just the crop circles and, all that stuff's just going to get us nowhere. It's old UFOlogy. It's 50-year-old stuff, and the science and the physics and the technology that we get into on this channel is really where this field needs to go in the future. And that I will strongly agree with Lou Elizondo on his statements there towards the end of this. Let's keep going.
Flag narratives.
Well, we know that actually has occurred in the past, so we can't say BS. And I
False flag.
with it, baby.
Yeah. All right. UAP false flag narratives.
Well, we know that actually has occurred in the past, so we can't say BS. And I don't want to say stick with it because it's not occurring now. So that's why I say let's move on, simply because there's elements that have some truth in that in the past, but I don't see that right now as being, at least publicly. There's some resistance that I'm facing inside the government, but that's not your concern, and that's a fight that we have to deal with. It's more obfuscation, I think, than it is false flag.
Alien hybrids.
All right, so the false flag thing, we'll get to this. All right. I didn't say that. I never said that Lou got paid for interviews, but he's got a lot. I have two. I don't know what's going on with Lou, and I have a couple theories on Lou, because it's interesting that some of the points that were brought up. Well, we can go into Lou. I'd really like to get Lou on to talk to him and really dig into this, because it would I'd have to get this, I'd have to really, it would be hard, because I don't think he would do that, because I don't know, for other reasons, but it's just, I believe that if he's working for, the Pentagon, if there's a program that could have been paying him to basically take control of the new UFO narrative and be like one of these thought leaders or influencers. And if he becomes one of those people, which he has, and the media has propped him up as, then he can be a thought influencer and a leader in this sort of movement. And they're trying to take down the other thought leaders like myself, but through shadow banning and the algorithmic the stuff that they do with YouTube, which is controlled by Google, NSA, all that stuff. So my content's getting systematically shadow banned and killed in the algorithms and this content is stuff with Elizondo, and it's constantly getting, pushed to the forefront. So there's some interesting dynamics that are going on with some of this behind the scenes. You can see, and it's also the fact that, the stuff that he really talks about, is it's really this, 20, 30-year-old watered down version of UFOlogy. It's not any of the new stuff. It's never any of the, he got into some of the science and stuff on it. He was started to talk about science and physics and stuff with that other guy, Sean Cahill, on Theory of Everything recently. He did an interview on there, and he started talking about some of the science and stuff. But man, he just is so basic and elementary. He does not go into the depth of the physics and the nuts and bolts like we do on this channel. So in any case, let's keep going on.
Let's.
Oh, well, I want to talk one more point on the false flag narrative. So his response about the false flag is interesting, because he's like, well, I can't deny that false flags are real and has happened in the past, but it's not occurring now. So let's move on. Well, how do you know it's not occurring now? There's false flags all the time. There's people exposing, media manipulation and lies. They're putting footage from Beirut, a couple of years ago, and saying that this is the Ukraine. And there's all kinds of media manipulation and lies going on out there within the mainstream media. So yeah, I don't know, the lose motive and the narratives and stuff, because there's all these people saying these different things. There's this documentary that came out, which they ask him about at the end. He says he hasn't seen it, and it's basically avoids the whole question. And it's interesting that the people that get him on can never really ask him about this or really dig into it in any kind of depth or detail. It's kind of like, well, if you get him on, he can shine you with his Midas golden touch, but you can't ask him about these questions. I don't know. It's weird what's going on with this, because it's like, wow, these guys got an interview with him. He's going on all these other channels that even have like a third or a tenth of the subscribers, a following that I have, but he won't go on my channel or some of these other channels with really educated people who are really skeptical in the field and really knowledgeable about the subject.
It's not their concern, and that's a fight that we have to deal with. It's more obfuscation, I think, than it is false flag.
Alien hybrids.
Let's move on. We don't have enough data yet.
Public UAP hearings.
Stick with it.
Secret space wars on Mars.
BS.
That's bullshit.
Susan Goff will be more transparent in the future.
Is there a layer even more harsh than BS by chance?
Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Pushing the Air Force to be more transparent.
Stick with it.
Dino beavers.
I have no idea I know what dino testing is on a car, and I know what a beaver is. And I know,
You don't know what
another
dino
kind
beavers are, Lou? You have dino beavers, Lukatsky, skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
Oh yeah, so cringe, dude. Yeah.
I know about the wolves and stuff like that, but not the dino beavers.
Okay. All right, so pass. I'll give you a pass. Skinwalker Ranch.
Stick with it.
Okay. And last but not least, who's Lou? Who's Lou?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right.
BS, by the way.
BS, by the way.
Dude, I love this, dude. It's like, who's Lou? That's all they bring up, man. So I would love to just bring up 3 of the main points from that film. It was an excruciatingly long and boring, documentary. I must admit that. It was it could have been produced much better with a little bit better content flow and editing. You know, it was just seemed like it was like soft, low hitting point, and it was like this weird sound effect, and it would be like, who's Lou, who's Lou, who's Lou, who's, it just repeated that, you know, like it's like they could have just like hit off a couple key points and made like a you know, maybe I should do that, just make like a 5-minute summary of who's Lou and just all the key questions and all the key points in just 5 minutes. That's what needs to be done. Because it's interesting that, you know, he's lived this intelligence career. He's always moved to his next destination before starting his next assignment of work, and had his wife go there early and set up a household and a living situation before he moves there and sets up his and gets involved with whatever his next project is. And there's some evidence that that was what was going on with TTSA, that before he left his job at the Pentagon, he was already planning his move there. And that it's obvious that, you know, the people would have known about it as soon as his wife got the apartment there, 5 minutes up the road from TTSA headquarters. And it's kind of suggested that, you know, his role in TTSA might have been part of a Pentagon assignment, and that he might have been hired by the Pentagon to, you know, join this group TTSA in order to, you know, basically take control of the UFO narrative and spread a CIA or government friendly version of that narrative. And so that theory has been put out there by a number of individuals, dark journalists mainly, among others. But that has never really, you know, thoroughly been debunked, you know, as far as it goes. You know, it's like we all have to be skeptical about these insiders that come out, and that's unfortunate, because it's like people are like, well, you know, now government insiders who have real information are going to be less, you know, likely to come out and talk about stuff, because of this is what happens. You know, nobody believes them, and nobody, you know, everyone will believe, and that's a sad reality, and I can't change that. I can't alter the fact that, you know, I'm probably the most credible person on the internet who's talking about real, like, physics and science that can, you know, that's not under NDA. That's the sad reality of it. That there's, you know, really nobody else doing this on this level. And there's people coming out and trying, you know, Michael's, you know, he put his Singularity Lab together, and he's trying there, and some of these other guys are really trying to, you know, fill this void, because they realize, you know, there's a strong need for this in the movement, you know, because what is ufology? What are we studying? What are we talking about here? You know, all right, we're talking about in the core essence of ufology and UFOs is motherfucking aerospace intelligence. That's all it is. It's aerospace intelligence. And I'm sorry to swear, and you know, I really should put on a suit and tie like these guys and pretend and not, and use proper language, and, you know, maybe that's the best way to reach the audience. But it's all about aerospace intelligence. It's what's flying out there and what's in our skies, and what is the science behind how that works, and what are the technologies out there. And it's all about technology and identifying technology and knowing about technology. And it has been from the start with Jesse Marcel, who discovered the Roswell debris out there. He was the head of Roswell, the 509th Bomb Group's, you know, aerospace intelligence officer. He was the head of Air Force intelligence, you know, for the 509th, which was probably the most advanced squadron in the air, you know, the Army at the time. It wasn't the Air Force, mind you. This was pre-Air Force. Air Force was created actually 3 days after Roswell, on July 10th, 1947. So Jesse Marcel, Air Force intelligence guy, definitely knew that this was not a weather balloon, was not, you know, anything that he'd ever seen before, and will probably ever see again. And the technology and the science is really what this is about. I love how Lou said that, you know, we need to keep after Roswell, you know, but some of this other stuff, it's like, yeah, we can ignore it, we can gloss over it, but it's really that's kind of glossing over it in ways that I feel like, well, maybe this is kind of what a U.S. Air Force counterintelligence guy would do, like he wouldn't, he'd be like, he wouldn't really, talk about that Richard Doty incident with Paul Benowitz and the whole Mirage Men thing when it comes to, this cattle mutilations business, because that's not really like, doesn't really look good for the government, and it's like, I have no fear in pointing that out because I'm not out to try to protect the government or make the government look good or cover up or, cover up the crimes of the past or try to get the publics to retrust the government is actually going to be responsible in handling the UFO narrative when there's so much utter corruption and bullshit going on. God damn, Hunter Biden. If any of you would have done any of the crimes that this man did, we'd all be in prison, man. But because he's the friggin' president's son and the senator's son, that he's, well, this is the thing too, right? Is everyone's like, there's people like about talking about, Lou, like he's like this bad guy, like, he's this demon or this evil person who's, working for the Pentagon to spread disinformation narrative, right? That's what this one side says. And I'm skeptical. I'm in the middle. I'm like, well, he might be, let's look at what he does talk about versus what he doesn't talk about and the kind of people he interacts with versus the people he doesn't interact with. And, I might be on that borderline. It might be time for Lou to say, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation with one of these people to like kind of address some of this stuff. I think it'd be worth it, talk about a little bit about what was going on, right before you joined TTSA. I want to know a little bit more about that. I want to know a little bit more about what was going on right when you joined ATIP and what they recruited you out of and what that was from. He worked in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of UFO activity that goes on in Puerto Rico. One of the deepest parts in the Atlantic Ocean is right off of the coast of Puerto Rico in the Puerto Rican Trench, which is like the trench on the opposite side of the earth of the Mariana Trench in the Pacific. And it's this Bermuda Triangle. There's also a Devil's Triangle on the opposite side, right around this large, open cavity in the ocean. So there's, there's some interesting natural phenomenon there. And maybe, I don't know what was going on with Puerto Rico. Why was he down in Puerto Rico? I know his dad worked down in Cuba on some interesting stuff, that would have got him in really deep on some levels. Bay of Pigs is as deep, as you could probably have gotten for covert activities back in the day. So, yeah, there's some interesting questions that I have about. I would love to have a conversation with Lou about some of this stuff. But again, I'm not like of the total. He's not as bad. Lou is not straight out there lying. He's not out there, saying that he worked on a government program where there was a hangar with 9 alien craft, and is saying that he was a physicist and telling you to trust him and only him on the physics of and the science of how UFOs operate. And he doesn't have a handler who's a former karate instructor. Former, karate dancer. Not, I wouldn't say, it's not even real karate. What he does is it's dancing, martial dancing, not martial arts. I loved how he like said, "Oh, I could have been competitive," on Joe Rogan, trying to play this friggin' MMA fighter bull crap, man. Oh, that's one guy that he, like Lou Elizondo, like you're going to talk about people in ufology, like the good and the bad, right? Lou is like middle of the road, like on that spectrum. He's not like Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell. He's not like on that deep end of just total freaking, but then also, you got to think George Knapp's involved in all that. And then George Knapp's tied back to this whole Lou Elizondo thing and this whole ATIP program, the Bigelow thing, Bigelow getting all into Lazar again, with Zeta Reticuli 2 program. There's lots of crazy ties here that take a long time to learn and work your way through. And I know that's difficult for people to really, yeah. so a lot of these answers to these questions were kind of evasive. I feel a lot of the questions weren't, direct and weren't really well put. And man, I don't know. It's just difficult. Interviews are always difficult because it's like you feel a different way when you have the presence of someone like this, in the room with you. Because like, wow, this guy's been on, all these. I don't know. It's just, I just wish this was more talked about in the open. And it's not really, again, I like that Lou's, saying that this should be about the science. And he's never promoted Bob Lazar. He kind of backed away from the issue once he realized, how unpopular it was to speak out about any of this stuff in ufology, which I, don't fully fault him for, if at the end of the day, he's just, a guy trying to, get the conversation going into the mainstream and, bring this out of the shadows, and that's really his goal and effort behind in all this, then then I applaud him, and I think that's this is a good way to do it. And maybe it's he has different beliefs in the integrity of our military and those who keep kinds of secrets that he feels the need not to talk about any of the science stuff on a real deep level or really give any secrets or information away about that that whole world. Maybe he just doesn't have the knowledge or the background really, but also it's weird because there's that's where ufology is going. It's going to this science side. It's going to the realization that there's been this invisible college or this secret college of people, these professors, just like the one that he talks about, this quintessential theoretical physicist that brought him onto the UFO program. I got to get all these clips, man, and save them, man. I wish, because I had the clip of him talking about that on the guy who brought him into the ATIP program and hired him to it. You know what? I want to get some other people's opinions on. We're about half an hour in, and we got some interesting people out. Oh, we got Lou Elizondo in the crowd. Oh, why was Lou giving notes? Is this the real Lou? Hey, Lou, if you're out there and watching, join up, man. Would love to get you on, or anyone that wants to talk about this. This is a good conversation to have, because how is Lou learn anything further about ufology being barraged by interviews? Right. He hasn't talked about that, and he's been very pro-military, pro-establishment stance on a lot of this stuff. So, you had to follow the next question right below that. Really, ufology is like something. It's about AeroSpace Intelligence, is how I would define ufology. It's AeroSpace Intelligence, and if you want to dig into that, then you have to keep an eye on NASIC, which is the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. So our government has a office that specializes in keeping track of all this aerospace intelligence stuff, and it's located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, and it's called NASIC. People should get familiar with this. If you want to get into UFOs hardcore and really do your country a service and really be part of the government effort to figure out what this stuff is. The Foreign Technology Division is really where started in 1961. This Foreign Technology Division of the Air Force Command is where you want to be, because this is as this stuff starts getting declassified and brought out into the public in the next 5 to 10 years. If you want to have access to the cutting edge and real access to this stuff, you're going to have to work for, one of these government agencies that handle all this, handle all the debris and artifacts and whatever else. This is, if there was a Men in Black center where, this would be as close to it as I could possibly imagine of anywhere that exists, that could be considered close to what, we see in Men in Black, but that's like a whole exaggeration, but it's not too far off either. It's just more compartmentalized and more secret and not so blatant. We have little bits and pieces of stuff, and we barely scratching the surface on understanding them. So you got to think, like, if we're dealing with foreign intelligences, they don't want us to know anything about them either. So this is so NASIC, the National Aerospace Intelligence Center, and this is really what UFO intelligence is about. It's about guys like the debunkers out there that know all about video and CGI or bokeh, all these things that they can use this knowledge to be like, well, this is your UFO video and this is what you're seeing, and we can explain it with this and this and this and this, so it's all about explaining things using intelligence. And every once in a while you get something that you can't really explain, and it defies your intelligence. Some people think they can explain it away using their own intelligence, and then some people think that it can't be explained away, and that's really what ufology is about. But it's also a push towards the belief that that these are not imagined, they're not misinterpretations, and that these are real physical craft or physical objects that people are observing, and that there's more science and physics to be understood from studying them. And I say, yes, there certainly is. There's tons that we can learn when you start really digging into all the physics and stuff. And I'm putting together a presentation on some of that stuff too. I hopefully be ready for next Saturday. This is just a whole separate thing that I was putting together on Ed Fouché specifically, but I'm adapting a lot of this stuff because it's related. But I'm putting together a slideshow that I'll be presenting for next week on all the some of the real stuff. So we learn a lot about what goes on at NASIC and Air Force Research Labs, and some of the physics and research that's going on there through leaks or through information that just comes out. This was by happenstance that I found this article where it talks about an Air Force contractor who is a PhD postdoc physicist working at Wright State University, and start reading this guy's thesis papers and start digging into some of his research, and I learned a lot about some of the top secret research that's going on at Air Force Research Labs and NASIC related to this stuff, and the terahertz research, which is super important. It's directly related to all this, to the metamaterials and the parts that he's shown and have talked about, and this is a key to everything, is the science, man. And that's all there is to it. It's just digging into the core science and and sorting out the bullshit, because this parts of the story and this official narrative don't make sense. Like they went and started this Atom project and got everyone from the public to donate and send in all their UFO debris to this project that was going to study it. And then they handed all the best pieces over to they had Gary Nolan's labs look at him, and Gary Nolan's doing some good work and putting some interesting research out there and taking a lot of heat for it on the front lines. So I do commend some of that, but I just have questions about why that material was given to the U.S. Army under CRADA, and why it wasn't given to NASIC, or more importantly, directly to the source. Now that we know where the source is, it's the terahertz and ultra-fast photonics lab at Wright State University, where Kemp had a top secret security clearance and was doing classified research for NASIC and Air Force Research Labs on polariton condensates and all that's what he wrote his thesis paper on, and it was all the same physics that we were talking about that is going on, and the optics that's going on inside these terahertz metamaterials. So again, this is core physics, this is core science, but it's classified, heavily classified. This guy did a year in federal prison just for bringing some papers home from work on it. And, you want to get into the real shit of what this real UFO research is about and what the physics of it are going on, then you need to, dig into the Hal Puthoff stuff. Yeah, that was great. Someone asked me about the Hal Puthoff thing. He was interviewed on Jesse Michaels recently with go watch that on Jesse. If you go on YouTube and find Jesse Michaels, Hal Puthoff, and Eric Weinstein, that was, I would love to sit down with Eric Weinstein or Hal Puthoff. I would love to have been in that room, man. That was just, damn it. The conversations that need to be happening that aren't quite happening, and a lot of these conversations have already been happening for the past 10 years, and they're just underground and finally making their way out to the public. I had Kurt of Theories of Everything, right, with Kurt. He's got a great channel out there. He's interviewed Lou a couple times and asked him some really good questions that I've helped him out with, and also he had asked me recently about Jack Sarfati, and Jack Sarfati has he makes a lot of claims and stuff that are interesting, but I got to get Jack on. I told Jack, you got to go on Theories of Everything with Kurt. Jack Sarfati's he's one of the original OG. He's an OG physicist. He has done the time, has the credentials, and it really has a thorough and deep understanding of general relativity and quantum mechanics and how these two merge at this quantum level to produce warp drives and some of these other phenomena that he's also. I'm not so sure about all this stuff. I'm skeptical of this whole consciousness, and you got to read his papers on consciousness and specifically the stuff about Froelich condensates. So he was asking me about that, and I want to talk a little bit about this idea. So there was this guy named Froelich, and Froelich had written this whole paper about quantum biological systems that have quantum states, and how, like, in the human brain, it's basically a quantum computer because it sets up these these condensate states within your neurons, and that it's able to do quantum computing, and that's the only way to describe how you can have such crazy computing power inside the human mind. And also it also can explain consciousness. That's the whole argument, is like, well, what's consciousness and how does consciousness derive? And it's actually this coherent quantum states which give rise to consciousness. It's believed through this theory of his that he talks a little bit about, and I perhaps can't extrapolate as well as he could, and it would be super interesting if Jack could put together a presentation on this, because I would love to. The last thing he put out was about 4 years ago on one of these channels, and you can find it if you look up Sarfati and consciousness. I sent it earlier. I'll post a link in the video at the end of this in a little bit. But yeah, Jack Sarfati is interesting. Also Bernard Haish, some of these other guys that worked with Hal Puthoff. There's this whole, like, this derived from the secret college, back in the 70s, and this was sort of the CIA or the intelligence community's esoteric or advanced knowledge based research group. And yeah, a lot of these guys you find them through through the liter. A lot of these guys I found just through the literature searches. You see, like, oh, who did this guy work with, and who did he publish papers with, and who was he? You start reading through all their literature and all their papers, and then you're like, oh, well, who did he publish this? He published this paper with this guy. Well, who's this guy? What did that guy publish? So you start going through his bibliography and the other people, the co-authors and other, colleagues, and going through their bibliographies, and you start learning so much about the real nuts and bolts of the physics and the research that went on into this for decades in secret, complete secret. This was highly classified knowledge, even knowing these scientists' names back in the day, and let alone the stuff that they were working on. And now you can just go through the literature and read all that stuff if you take the time to really want to learn it. But again, it's like school, man. It's not like sitting there and watching, UFO videos and arguing that it's bokeh and and laughing at, everyone who believes it for how stupid they are. This is like, it's not entertainment. It's a whole nother, it's taking ufology to a whole nother level. And that's really what needs to happen in this field, but it's sadly not happening. I don't know. I just feel like the field's gonna that the goal of these people is to like burn this out and make it stagnate. Maybe, I don't know. What do you guys think, man? I posted the stream link. Jump on, share your thoughts, people. What do you think about the Big Phone Home? So the Big Phone Home 3 is coming up. I got to get on the speakers list, man. I don't know why they don't have me on there. I reached out to Lou. I helped promote Lou when he first started his channel and got him good, man. I reached out to these dudes. Oh, there I am. So I'm on there. Cool. We're good. We're cool, Lou. I'll get Lou on again, and these guys. You guys got to get me on there. I'll prepare something really good. I want to. This really means a lot to me. I've been reaching out to my senators and my congressmen every time they do this. This is a great thing to remind me, hey, it's time to reach out again. One of these days I'm going to have a sit down meeting with one of my senators and congressmen and get to go over all this stuff. And maybe then I'll actually wear a suit and tie, if that happens. Because, just out of respect, you got to play that game. You want to reach those kinds of people. Oh, fucking Twitter. What a mess, dude. It's like a public toilet, man. It really is. Anyways, if you want to get into ufology and really, dig into the nuts and bolts, I have tons of great interviews and content to go through on my channel. If you haven't checked it out already, there's so much stuff that you missed if you're new to this. There's so much great stuff that's going on. I really ought to just make like a new channel with just the highlights and stuff. Yes, suit and tie commando. Yeah, they've stagnated ufology for 60 years, man. They've made it about chasing lights in the sky and then believing all this crap, and they've used it as a cover story for all kinds of secret projects, from cattle mutilations and Project Plowshare and the harvesting the thyroid glands of cattle to test for the nuclear, uptake from all the underground tests that they were doing to, U-2 spy program and using UFOs as the cover for all secret kinds of aircraft and flight testing and stuff, man. And this is what this field has always been about: Air Force intelligence and aerospace intelligence. And about 90% of that has been counterintelligence. So you have a field that's predominantly dominated by disinformation and bullshit. And you have to sort through that 90% of that crap to get to that 10%, and then have to sift through that to find that 1% to get an actual golden nugget. You know what I mean? To find anything worthwhile. But anyways, I posted the link. Nobody wants to join. So, I guess I get it, dude. It's 2 a.m. You're tired. I'm tired too. Some of you probably just turned on because you're like, get the notification. I get it. Yes, it's become the new religion, man. It really has. It's like, it's they're trying to turn it into a new religion too. I feel like there's certain people that are like really trying to make it like this new age crap, and it's really, no, it's not. It's learning about, quantum physics and space time and reality and quantum non-locality and the fact that everything's connected and we can connect really far to other parts of the universe if we get it. We could just get the physics and the understanding of that, that we can warp the space time around our craft by little bits, maybe by large bits, jump to the other side of the universe or another galaxy. Who knows what's out there in the future? Hey guys, we got 132 people watching. So if we got 100 people watching, let's do this. Let's do this, guys. So we're going to let's guess a number between 1 and 100. Closest one is the winner, dude. It gets a shout out. So I'm gonna roll these 2 die. I got 2 10-sided die, and ones we're gonna see number between 1 and 100. Let's see who guesses the closest one. Come on, type in a number between 1 and 100 in the live chat on the right, and let's see who gets close to this. Ready? Come on. Not showing you guys what it is yet. Oh boy. $26 was the number. And 23 looks like it was the closest, man. 25. We got 25 here. Marco said 25. Marco, you were the closest. Congratulations, Marco. You were in a shout out. All right, you want to do it again? Let's get the second runner-up winner. People are still guessing numbers, so. All right, ready? $91. $91. Who is the closest tonight? Oh, 93. Catnip. Catnip, you were the closest on the second. You came in second place for the second number. Good job. Awesome, guys. Well, a lot of people guess the same numbers. That's cool. In any case, yeah. Yeah, 3 people picked 41, man. That's what it should have been. It was 91. Sorry, you guys were off by 50. All right, here's the chat. If you guys want to join and hang out for a bit after, I'm gonna go to bed soon, but we can hang out for a little bit. So I'm gonna hang this up. I don't know if there's anything else really we got to talk about on this level. What else did I want to mention? I mean, getting more people on for interviews and getting more. But really, I'm really just done with this whole mainstream UFO conversation. I want to talk about the intelligence. I want to just teach. I think this is an educational effort now. At this point, it's about teaching the newcomers to the field ways to identify, bullshit and ways to sift it out. And it's just about learning, like, oh, this is an airplane. There's tons of people out there filming airplanes thinking they're filming UFOs and are filming drones, man. And it's just, I don't know. It's all about teaching people what's out there and then learning and then teaching these people what the next level of that is, not just what's out there, what could be out there, what's coming, what we're building in the future, this really advanced stuff. Because we know there could be some serious projects out there. Maybe they do have, he said Roswell, maybe they do have some alien debris. I believe it. Could be. Anyways, peace out, guys. Have a good night. Would love to see you guys jump on the stream. And yeah, keep sharing this information. Keep doing these things where we talk about, what's bullshit, what's worth keep pursuing, and what's, hey, let's just move on for now, till we get more information. Some of that stuff. Again, Bob Lazar might have been exposed to some real information and had some real stuff too. So like, let's not forget, who the people he was around and talking to. So anyway, sleep well. And yes, Elon, if Elon doesn't know, he needs to know, because it's time, man. He's still building rockets, and he really should learn that, like, UFO tech is coming. Nothing can stop what's coming. In any case, have a good night, guys. Thank you.